All right, we are back with another council president to give you some insight and inspiration. For those of you that don't remember, I'm Billy Bolden. I serve as the Assistant Dean of Students and the Director of Sorority and Fraternity Engagement here at Iowa State. And this week I have with me Dan Renner. Dan, how are you doing today?
Great, Billy. Thanks for asking, man. And
Yeah,
sounds like you got your pitch down pretty
yeah,
good.
it's a little bit of practice, a little bit of practice. So, Dan, let's start off with just a little bit about who you are. So let's tell the folks, what do you do? This is your opportunity to give yourself an introduction. Tell us your story.
Oh man, so I come from Boston, Massachusetts. My folks grew up in rural town, Iowa, Marshalltown, and Sibley, Iowa. They both went to Iowa State, and we moved around quite a bit. So lived in Minnesota, lived in Florida, lived in Boston, and when I was looking at colleges, I came out to Iowa State, and I immediately fell in love with how beautiful the campus is. I was actually here for Greek Getaway. My Iowa is kind of, the Midwest is like a second home to me, being from the East Coast, and I just love how um, you know down to earth and how friendly and open everybody is in the Midwest. And so when I came to Iowa State, it was just like, wow, I am home. I fell in love with the fraternity the first day I met all the guys there. So I immediately signed up with Delta Tau Delta through Greek Week. I'm sure that's probably a thing of the past now, unfortunately. But after college, I applied for a couple jobs, and it landed me in consulting. So strategy consulting, was doing big technology implementations, and really think about it as unfortunate to say, but it's the way that the world is going. Got into the artificial intelligence space, and so really understanding customers, prospects, consumers, and the easiest way to put a name to it or a thing to it is, if you buy, let's say you buy something on Amazon, you buy diapers. Well, when you buy diapers, you need baby wipes. When you need baby wipes, you need a changing table. When you need a changing table, you need to have all the accessories for a kid. And so the technology that I work with actually helps do all the algorithms and sits behind the recommendation engines for banking systems, for retail systems, and the rest. So I do global projects. I've traveled to Australia, Argentina, Chile, Canada, all over the world, Europe, all over the world for work, because it's in this day and age, it's really important for organizations and companies to understand their customers, and not only understand them, but how do they want to engage with the brand, and then how do they want to buy? When do they want to buy from you, and what offers can you serve to them to make life as frictionless as possible, because that's what it's all about now in technology. So that's a little bit about me. Is that kind of what you're looking for, Billy?
It's perfect. It's perfect. That it sounds fascinating. I feel like we could do a whole nother episode just having you talk about some of the science behind that.
We could. We definitely could. There's that'd be another big podcast for you. You can start your own podcast channel. You and Joe Rogan, Billy.
Yeah, here we go. Yeah. So, I really love that you've been able to kind of pick up your own adventure, as we say at Iowa State, kind of travel all around the world. Are you still based out of Boston now, or?
Based out of Boston now. I forgot to mention I did a tour of duty in D.C. So Washington, D.C. I was there for 5 years. I actually lived with one of my best friends. He's a Sigma Pi, so he got a job out there. And I just remember, like, basically first job out of college, so not making a lot of money. We're just living it up in DC, and that was an ever-growing city. So I kind of put down roots in DC, bought a house, and then unfortunately, the old ball and chain, my now fiance, she had a job in Boston, and so kind of had to shift gears, shift perspectives, and move back up to Boston here. But my folks are happier for it.
Yeah, and she's probably thrilled. So.
Yeah, yes, exactly. She is.
Yeah, awesome. Greek Week does still exist, so know that. It has evolved and changed a little bit, so the prospective students don't visit during Greek Week anymore. Now Greek Week is just for us. And Greek Getaway has evolved as well. So Greek Getaway doesn't exist in the way it did, but IFC still hosts an event called IFC Experience now, which is very similar to Greek Getaway, but it's just IFC.
Excellent. So is that held in the fall, or is that held in the spring?
It's in the spring.
Okay.
Yep. It's in the spring. Still in April. Still can spend the night at Fraternity House. do all those fun things. So it's a great way to truly come to Ames for a weekend and to learn what it's like to be an IFC fraternity.
Yeah, excellent. So what? Why was it a 2 day event? So now they just moved it to a day. Is that kind of what's changed now?
No, it can still be for the whole weekend. So what they've done is they've kind of focused the programming on the Friday night and during the day Saturday.
Hmm.
So you can definitely spend the night Friday night, and then they've left it more up to chapters and men to determine if they want to spend a second night. What they found was that some people just didn't know what to do for a second night,
Makes sense.
and with the block parties from that event being gone, we just needed some more structure. So some chapters have really taken advantage of it, had some great events on that second night, and other chapters just said, "Yeah, it's not it for us." And then things like this year, COVID happened, so we just had to throw it all away.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Yeah. So definitely finding some other ways to connect though, and we've seen some positive growth in the community. So
And how are the fraternities and sororities reacting to COVID? I mean, just now are they going to be, are the shelters open, or what's Iowa
mhm.
State's even policy on this whole thing?
Yeah, it's a little bit everybody's a little bit different, I guess is the short answer to say to that. And I think part of that is just given the nature of the different types of housing. And so, in the Delt house, because um, the way the beds are made, they're built into the walls.
Hmm.
They've been able to actually purchase some fire resistant curtains for each of those kind of bed bunks that are there. And so each guy kind of has his own bed space.
Hmm.
So the need to maybe reduce occupancy is not as high in the adult shelter as it is in some other chapter houses where maybe they have cold airs and it's 30 beds in a room. Well, those have had to reduce occupancy a little bit and spread out a little bit. So kind of depends on the chapter and their situation and how they can manage that.
Yeah. Well, not to date myself, and I'm sure Ben Free said this as well, but back in the day, we had like a cold air of like 60 plus beds or something like that. So, I
Right.
know that people got it. People got it easy now.
Right. Right. Well, the new Delt shelter is certainly beautiful.
Yeah.
It's definitely a point of pride for the chapter to be able to share that home with many people.
It's nice. I mean, I can't. I don't know if I would change anything in the world for just having all your brothers around and 60 guys living in a house. I mean, what could
Yeah.
go wrong?
Yeah.
Nothing. So
Right. Right. Yeah. Now the chapter is what 140
yeah,
million, I think, something like
yeah,
that. So, yeah, definitely a lot of growth. Dan, we know you were the 2010 Interfraternity Council president. Uh, Tell us the rest about your undergraduate career and leadership positions you held. You didn't just wake up one day and become IFC president. So, how'd
yeah.
you get there? What are some of the roles and responsibilities you had?
No, I think this is one thing that I've always really just is the best thing about the Greek community. I mean, and I hope it still is instilled in everybody today, because I think going Greek at Iowa State gives you so many avenues to find out about yourself and what you're good at, and it allows you to be extremely inquisitive and exploratory with, do I want to join the blood drive committee? Do I want to be an active member in helping my fraternity or sorority executive committee? Do I want to take part in the student body government? Do I want to, right? Do I want to be a VISA exec? And what the fraternity and sorority gives you is the ability to learn from leaders that have already been in those positions. And so as you're going through these things, I think that I really would rely on my chapter members to kind of get that experience around whether I want to be involved in the community service aspect or the sponsorship aspect, or where do I even start, right? Because Iowa State is 50,000 students, and everybody's trying to find their own little thing that they're excited about, passionate about, or good at. And so I think that leaning on my fraternity brothers, I believe I started getting really active and involved in the blood drive. And from there, just taking a minor role um, with some sort of sponsorship aspect, and then actually working my way up into the blood drive executive committee. And then I kind of in the Greek community became known as the sponsorship guy, with the Monster and Red Bull and Rockstar all being all the distribution guys were sitting in our house. And so every event that I put on, it was Rockstar Energy, Red Bull, Monster, just throw the works at it. So
Yeah.
started in blood drive, and I started getting really involved in, just in Iowa State on the fraternity side. So started off as a ROGAM and then built my way into becoming a sponsorship executive for Greek Week, sponsorship executive for Blood Drive, sponsorship executive for Dance Marathon. So I started to really fan out and get there. And then I kind of took a look at myself and said, well, what else do I want to do? How else can I help the Greek community, something that I love so much? And so I actually joined the IFC in 2009 as the recruitment chair. And some of the things that we started to do, I don't know if the Greek, the fraternity magazine still exists, so we published the first ever, I wish I remember what that was called, but it was the first ever fraternity guide. Yeah, fraternity guide, that's what it was. And it was this magazine of all 28 chapters and some pictures and highlights of the members and highlights of what the chapter stands for and the rest. So it was really exciting. And that was something that we carried over into my presidency in 2010, where it became just a much more refined, way cooler looking, pamphlet. Now, hopefully now it's digital in 2020, but we didn't have the sophistication back then.
We do still print one.
Yes, awesome.
But it is digital as well.
That's what I like to hear. So glad to see that. I thought it was great, right? It was something that, I just know as an incoming person that worked this, or that was part of the system of Greek Getaway. It's like, okay, I saw, when I first went to Iowa State, I was like, I'm going to see as many chapters as I can see. And so I saw, I think 10, 11, 12 chapters, maybe more in my 2-night stay there. And it was just really hard, coming into this is like keeping everything in aligned of who did I see, who did I talk to? And so the fraternity guide was born from that. And hopefully it helps, keep things a little more focused, right? And you can take notes.
So that's such a great accomplishment. It's something that's certainly stood the test of time, right? Obviously, it's evolved a little bit, and we have the digital version now. It continues to exist. So we love to see contributions like that. Kind of in the same vein of that, as you think about contributions or things that you're most proud of, what about when you were IFC president? When you were IFC president, what's the thing that you're most proud of that your team was able to accomplish that year?
Yeah, so I mean, a couple things, right? One, I think that and I don't know, again, still, I hope this is still in place. One of the things that we actually brought to the table when I was IFC president was fall recruitment. So we started that was a practice that had happened in the past. It had gone away, and then in some of the chapters, presidents and I had been talking. They're like, how do we do more than just Greek Week, right? Because some of the smaller chapters thought that Greek Week prominently featured larger chapters, especially with the block parties and the rest. And so how do we now capture this next round of students that are, again, looking to get involved in the community at Iowa State, but don't know where to start? And so it was the birth of fall recruitment, basically. And, I think we had 30 or 40 individuals sign up. Now, when we look at it, people were like, well, that's kind of minuscule. But I know the next year that they did it, it was triple volume, 3-time increase, and they had like 100 people attend. So that was something that I was really proud of. And I think that there was like a 60% placement rate, right, out of those 40 people. So, they all, or maybe higher, right? I don't want to make up numbers off the top of my head, but I remember that a few chapter presidents came in and said, wow, this really helped. Just the fact that they were able to pick up 1 or 2 members, in the fall was big recruitment numbers for some of those fraternities. So that was something that was really nice. And then another thing was the triangle. So that actually was something that we did community fundraising for. We got the chapters to buy in, and then we did the is it called the DZ triangle, or not DZ triangle, the fraternity triangle. What is that called now?
It's called a Greek triangle.
Greek triangle. That's what it's called. Yes. So the Greek triangle. So we put out the kind of like gazebo thing and did all that. That was something that was kind of fun and a staple. So, but other accomplishments. I mean, geez, the fact that you get to understand the inner workings of CPC and all the other organizations that are on campus, and you get to work. You get to make lifetime friends. Yeah, like that was one of the best thing about being on
Yeah.
council is you get to see a lot of what goes on at Iowa State and the other avenues that it opens. So yeah,
Yeah, we love to hear that. I think with the recruitment program, we I think the approach in IFC now is to do kind of an all comers approach. So we're going to do every type of recruitment we possibly can, whether it's spring recruitment, summer recruitment, or fall recruitment. This year's team decided to actually take the fall recruitment program and run it prior to the start of school,
good for them.
and run it very similar to Panhellenic. Now, COVID complicated that,
Sure.
one, and then the derecho that we had here also
Yeah.
shut us
How are
down.
you guys doing? Are you okay? I mean, hopefully everybody's all right.
Yeah, I think there's some students that are still navigating some home issues. Maybe their family home was hit pretty hard. There are about 50 residents and Ames about a week and a half now after the storm that are still out of power, but the
Sorry,
Sorority
man.
Fraternity community and the university all got power back within about 30 hours. So it just gives a big timeout to
Yeah.
reevaluate some things. So I'm really excited for the guys. I think they made some great progress, and I'm looking forward to see what the next team can do with that event next year. After this team learned a lot and got a lot of things going.
Yeah.
This with
I mean,
kind
are
of
you guys seeing good numbers in the fall? I mean, are you guys?
yeah, I typically around that for IFC, typically around that 100 to 150 is what we see in any type of formal process.
That's
Um,
pretty good. I mean, it's
yeah,
all you can ask for, really. I mean,
yeah,
it's a lot of effort, but I mean, it really matters when it comes down to it. I mean,
yeah.
some of these.
And I think too for folks to just like know how to join. Not everybody knows how to do the same thing.
Yep.
Some of our best members come from the people that never wanted to join a fraternity. So being somehow convinced to go through a process to learn more about it, opens the door for them to be here as well. And I think to your point too about having the opportunity to connect with other councils. So whether it's Panhellenic or MPHC or MGC or Multicultural Greek Council, there's lots of opportunities to connect across the community in
Yes.
the rules. So let me ask you the hard question, maybe the humbling question. What's the thing that you wanted to accomplish, but you weren't actually able to do it? What's the thing that gave you a challenge?
Man, where do I start? Are we just talking about Iowa State, or are we talking about right now?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's up to
Um,
you.
where to start on the list? No, so I think one of the things that I really wanted to, I think, in terms of accomplishments. I mean, now I'm trying to think. I don't know, man. I mean, I think what I would like to have accomplished is I don't want to be too my own horn. I think that we had a lot of unity as chapter presidents and with my IFC council, because I think that I was just extremely real, very present. I really never wanted to, and you don't put this on. I don't know how to phrase this. I was never out to like get anybody in trouble, right?
Mhm.
I started to build relationships and friendships, and some of that unity that was created. I feel like it was lost, in a sense, almost with some of the transitions of presidencies. Some are on semester presidencies versus annual, and so when it all flipped over, I felt like maybe it was just because of me. Like that was my
Mhm.
feeling of no longer attending weekly ISC meetings. But I felt like I almost lost a little bit of touch with the Greek community. And so if there was a way ever, I think it's needed more now than ever, rather than to be divided and say this chapter is better than this chapter. And
Yeah,
you definitely was hearing that still back in my time, 2010. It was just like I wanted it to be more unification of we truly are. I use the word Greek community. You don't see that at a lot of different schools, right? They call them chapters or whatever their names are, right? They don't have this community sense, and I think that Iowa State had done a really nice job of building credibility across the university, right? Hazing incidents not being a big factor at Iowa State, like not a lot of chapters being shut down. So I think that there was this sense of unity, but maybe some of that those bonds could have been better built
sure.
while I was in charge.
Yeah, and I think that's something that we still work on today.
Hmm.
One of the challenges that I think is natural to sororities and fraternities is this sense of accountability,
Yeah.
right? We signed up for something. We promised to be better than average. We promised to give our whole self to this, and that's hard to do that each and every day. And so
Yes.
sometimes we slip up a little bit, right? And then whether it's our peers or our chapter president or our governing council or even the sorting training engagement staff that has to hold you accountable for those actions, we kind of get we get frustrated, we get upset. Nobody likes to get checked on their behavior, right?
Yeah.
I don't like it. I don't like when people call me, right? I'm not perfect though, and
Yeah.
so I think part of it is like we kind of create this animosity unintentionally about like, well, let me just live my life. Well, yeah, live your life, but also uphold these standards that we've agreed upon, right?
Right.
And I
Right.
think that that's an important piece that can sometimes divide us, but also it's a very unifying thing. It's what makes being a part of a sorority of fraternity so special.
I think so too, and I think that there's a place there. I do believe that for the most part, sororities and fraternities are a great experience for folks at Iowa State because really, I don't think there's another Greek community like Iowa State's Greek community. I've been all over different campuses. I've had brothers and sisters go to school in different places. And each Greek community has its own flavor, but this is really like when you think about bringing everybody together, like homecoming, all the different like yell like hell and all the tournaments, and there's that sense of we got to be the most competitive, we got to be the best. But I think it's like in Greek week, those types of events, varieties. I hope fraternities and sororities still participate in varieties. That is those. I mean, those are just great events, and those are the types of things that bring people together, both through the spirit of competition, but just the fact that you're pairing up with different houses all the time and you're going out there to compete on all these goofy activities that in real life you never get the chance to do again. So you've
Yeah,
got to take advantage of all those things when you're there, because those are some of the best memories that you don't relive until you're having a beer with a buddy, and talking about the old days 10
right.
years ago.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Yeah, I it's one of my favorite things when our student leaders go into graduate school or they go live into a different community and they truly get to see sorority and fraternity somewhere else, and they
Mm-hmm.
call me and they're like, "I know we always wanted more. I know we always said that everything was a problem. We didn't have enough and nobody cared and all that kind of stuff, but I didn't realize how good we had it, right?" And
Yeah.
and and for me, I don't want to rest on that as a staff to be like, well, it's better than it is everywhere else, right? Like
Right.
I don't want that to be why we don't continue to support students or continue to push the envelope or to try new things or do things differently. But it is a moment of pride when people come back and they've kind of had that realization of like, you know what, I actually had it pretty well. I had
Pretty well. Yeah.
pretty awesome
Yeah.
experience.
Now, one of the things I know, you asked me about accomplishments earlier and stuff like this, and just kind of on the same vein, didn't get a list off my whole resume for you. Sorry, but when I was IFC president, I actually was I got into the student body government as well through another avenue. Jen. Also, too, when you get involved, you meet not just fraternity and sorority members, but you also get the community members that are leaders, like Jen Flegman Galvin. She coached me so much and helped me expand my horizons beyond sorority and fraternity life. And so when I was IFC president, I was actually on the Supreme Court at Iowa State, and then would later become Chief Justice at Iowa State as
Yeah.
well. And so the fact of the matter, though, is when I was Chief Justice, um, you know, sororities and fraternities, they were doing really well. There was no incidences while I was sitting on those leadership positions that we could even think about, right, or even talk
Yeah.
about. So I think that when you have the foundations of a community, that then brings people together, so that there's you can only grow stronger. And I
Yeah.
think that's something that Iowa State allows its Greek community to do, is that it doesn't have kind of this red tape or look at it in this way of, well, everybody, fraternity, sororities, gross, or oh, trouble. It's like, no, I think the university recognizes that a lot of its leaders come from that fraternity sorority community, and they want to enable as much as they can for students to take those opportunities. So I think that Iowa State just is so strong in recognizing what great leaders it has and where the leaders come from, and that's primarily from, or at least from when I was there, it's primarily Greek led. So
Sure.
across our campus.
All right, Dan, I can't get off this call with you without asking you the tough question because of all your experience of sponsorship and recruitment. I want your best sales pitch. Imagine that I'm an incoming Iowa State student and I don't know anything about sorority or fraternity. What would you tell
Oh,
me?
oh man. I think I had a different answer every year for when I was doing recruitment, whether it be Rogam or IFC or doing it for my own house. But I think the biggest thing that I never lost is what you put into it is what you will get out of it. And I think that a lot of people say this all the time, but I truly mean it and truly take those words with some gravitas, some weight, because if you want to, you can do whatever you want to do at Iowa State. Iowa State truly allows you to choose your own adventure. But I think what the fraternity and sorority community allow you to do is do it better, do it with support system behind you, allows you to have this immediate connection with a group of friends that you will never ever lose, right? I mean, this is when they say friends are for life, I think that my best friends from college all are from the Greek community. I've been in everybody's wedding, right? And you just have I think my sales pitch is getting a little long, but I think what the crux of the matter is you put in what you get out. So you get out what you put in, and it's it's like unlike anything else that and now because I've gone through it, and now that I look back on 10 years, it's kind of bringing up all the memories, right? So they're too young for reminiscing, but yeah, I think that I think the good thing is come to Iowa State, join Greek, and you won't regret it.
Yeah, yeah, because relationships matter, and
Yeah,
as we meet people and we bring them into our life and we share part of ourselves with them, we get this greater perspective of the world and how it works and all these adventures that we're going to go on beside just coming to Iowa State. There's a whole world of adventures out there for us.
yeah. Thanks, Billy. You took my words, or you took what I was generally saying and made it very pointed. So thank
Yeah,
you for that.
yeah, I'm here for it. I'm here for it. All right, Dan, I love to wrap up these conversations with 3 questions, the same questions for everybody.
Sure.
I'm not going to call them easy questions, but I don't think they're hard, but we'll see how it goes. So the first one for you is, what's a phrase or a line, a quote, quote from a poem, your creed, your anthem, a song, a motto, something that Delta Tau Delta gave you? What's a line there that sticks out to you today that you continue to lead your life by?
Yeah, so I think like within Delt Creed, I mean, really, and the mission of Delta Delta is to live lives of excellence. So I think that I've tried to take that and carry that forward. And one thing that I will say, and my dad was a Delt at Iowa State, so got some, and my mom was a Tri-Delt. But one thing that my dad said to me before my first day of college, wrote me a long 3-page note essay. And the first line that he said is, money lost, nothing lost, friends lost, something lost, your word lost, everything lost. And that's something that at Iowa State I tried to live my life by, because when you say you're going to do something, or you say you're going to help, or you say you commit to doing something, or commit to being friends with people, right? You really need to take that responsibility upon yourself and execute. And that's going to be the same in the professional world, because your word is only as good as you make it. And so every time you tell somebody or you commit to something, and you get diminishing, and you don't follow through with it, well, you just diminish something. Now, how is anybody going to ever trust you to do something again? Absolutely. So I think that that's something that both committed to lives of excellence, and what my father said. I think I really I replay those in my head quite a bit.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, especially with Dad. I think that our word is our integrity, right? And
Yeah.
we took an oath of obligation when we joined our organizations, and we have an obligation to uphold that.
Yes.
do things we said we would do and to do it well. So I love that. Great guidance there. All right, I don't know if you're a book reader, if you're maybe an Audible book reader, if you're a TV watcher, Netflix watcher, whatever it is. But I'm curious about a thing or two that you are watching or reading that you think the people should know about.
Yeah, so shameless plug for my fiance. She's an assistant director, does big time movies. So she's actually, so, if you want to check out John Wick 3, Ocean's 8, she's actually both assistant director and she has two lines in it. So she's in the movie.
Wow. Okay.
And then she's coming off her largest movie that she's ever done, which is Little Women. So the new make of the remake of Little Women is out, and so definitely check that out. Now, in terms of what I like to watch, John Wick 3 is awesome.
Yeah.
I think that, just what trying to think what else I've been watching, just kind of been grazing as of late. Schitt's Creek was fantastic. So if you're gonna binge on anything, I think Schitt's Creek was. We just wrapped that up. That was good.
Yeah.
What are you watching, by the way?
I've been through so many different shows and things like that. I feel like I've watched everything that's out there. So I grew up in Virginia,
Oh yeah.
and it's pretty common for folks in Virginia to head to the Outer Banks or Hatteras or somewhere in that area for summertime or weekend getaways or things like that. And so when the TV show came out on Netflix, Outer Banks,
Yep.
I had to watch what was going on. It's a complete trash of a show. Like it's not worth the watch. But I had to watch it to see if I could see things or see memories or like make some connections to what I know and remember from the Outer Banks. So I don't really recommend it, but it's out there for you if you want. So
I'll check it out just for you, Billy.
yeah.
But in terms of reading, I actually I like Never Split the Difference. That's a
Okay.
book that I just listened to on audio. I listen to it every once in a while. Basically, it's about the gentleman in the FBI who started the counter-terrorist unit and the art of negotiation. And he's really fascinating about all the different types of listening cues and reading between the lines and understanding points of view and references and trying to figure out how to gradually over time, and this is a great skill in business and in life, gradually over time, understand a point of view, frame it, and then start to mold that frame to how you want to make that engagement work. And so if it works for this guy to do hostage negotiation and ransom and the rest, I'm sure there's a few applicable things that you can take away out of it for your everyday individual life.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. You know, the book that I've been reading consistently is a book called The Daily Stoic.
Oh.
So I've been trying to make reading more of a daily habit for me. So sometimes I'm reading a whole book, sometimes reading a chapter. But what I like about the Daily Stoic is it allows me to make that commitment to reading, and it's like a page a day. So if you grew up in the church and you ever had a devotional or a book like that where kind of you had something to read every day, the Daily Stoic has a similar concept to it. So every day there's kind of this like passage to read from one of the great Stoic philosophers of our time to just give some insight, something to reflect on. So Ryan Holiday is the author that's put that together. So that's been kind of my reading for the day. Yeah.
That's cool. I'm actually going to look that up right now on audiobook.
Yeah.
The other thing that I will say on top of that, Billy, is I like to kind of read like autobiographies and The Ride of a Lifetime by Bob Iger. So he's the CEO of Disney. And I think that right now, especially with how the media is and the world is, everybody just wants the bits, right? What's the headline? It's a world of headline news. And I think that by reading some of these books, like the CEO of Disney, like him, hate him, you're indifferent to him, whatever. There's other books by both gentlemen and female authors that have and CEOs that have great expansive life experience. And if you can just pick up some of these little tidbits, it'll help people, especially from Iowa State, understand that the world is a very expansive place, and that success doesn't just come like this. this, right? You can win the lottery, go ahead, if that's your definition of success. But what is going to be, no matter what we do, is going to be there time and time again, is you have to persevere, you have to
Yeah.
grind, you have to work, because you have to make life happen for you. And so I think that that's one consistent thing across all of these C-level, executives that write these books, is that their grind and their passion is something that they rely on all the time to move them forward. So
Yeah.
those are always interesting reads for me, just to kind
Yeah.
of see
Absolutely.
how the sausage was made.
I love that. I love that. And if your fiance ever wants to do a film screening at a college university, I know a place that would be
I'll let her
happy
know. I'll let her
to
know.
showcase her talent. So, yeah. All right, Dan, last question for you today. Probably the hardest and easiest question all at the same time. But what's one thing that brings you joy in life?
Oh man, I to be honest, this is gonna sound so corny, but it's my friends from Iowa State. I think that my family and my friends are everything, and so especially during the COVID times, it's just great to pick up. I mean, you can pick up the Zoom call, but it's just great. You're back to college days.
Yeah.
I think that my friends are just so important. Again, it's the wedding circuit. It's being there for everybody's first child that's born. It is just the lifelong friends that you will make. You get friends that move overseas and you go visit them. You get friends that move to the West Coast and the East Coast. You get to visit them. You become more worldly through through your friends' experiences, and making sure that you keep those in touch and keep those healthy. It's my favorite thing in the world. Brings me joy.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Dan, so much for joining us today. Thank you for sharing some of your life story with us, telling us about your experience as Iowa State, as an alum, how impactful sorority and fraternity has been for you. It's been a pleasure. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, man, no problem. I had fun doing it. So hopefully, in my rattling, there was one good piece of information in there.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome. Thanks, Dan.
All right, thanks, Billy. Talk soon.